Hi, I'm Sarkar and you're watching The Times of India. Today, we are delving into a topic that's on the minds of many students and parents, the evolving landscape of international education. With rising tuition costs, changing visa policies, and the growing importance of holistic profiles, what does it really take to prepare students for global opportunities? In this conversation, we'll explore key questions like, are Indian schools doing enough to prepare students for global admissions? When should students start planning for higher studies abroad? And is studying abroad still worth it in 2025? Joining me is Aditi Mishra, the dynamic director principal of DPS International Gurugram, a career educator with nearly 4 decades of experience. An alumna of DPS R.K. Puram and Lady Shriram College, she has led several DPS institutions. A Karmavir Chakra awardee and British Councillor Ambassador, she also serves on the CII Education Panel and heads the Gurgaon chapter of HPSC. A prolific author and CBSE master trainer, Aditi continues to shape the future of education with a visionary leadership. Hi, thanks a lot for joining us today for this very crucial conversation about studying abroad.
Thank you.
Indian parents and students are really bothered when it comes to, sending their kids outside India. So, studying abroad is a hot topic.
Yes.
So let's start with the very basic but critical one. What, according to you, are Indian parents and students really looking at while they are thinking of studying in a foreign country? Is it the weight of, the brand names of various universities? Is it the promise of exposure, or just the perceived lack of, it's a perceived lack of opportunity, good opportunity or option in India? What is it that is driving parents and students towards, countries abroad?
So let me begin from about 5 years ago. Yeah. There was definitely a perceived notion that if my child goes abroad, global exposure, somehow there will be a magic wand, he or she will come back more confident and pat, there will be a job, either there or here. I think post-pandemic things have changed big time. Children going abroad are well aware that probably there are no jobs in the country that they are choosing. That is putting a big question mark, because I'm not looking at education as investment in the financial terms, but there is certainly a thought that will there be a return to this? If I'm spending so much money on an education there, is there some hope that I get a job there and earn back some money of that currency that I've sort of spent? That perspective has changed now. So suddenly we find children questioning whether they should be going to places where there is definitely a dearth of jobs, and even children from that particular space are jobless. Right. And in fact some jobs that were there are now closing up.
If you could give some examples, share some examples of countries which Indian students in particular are looking forward to, but they are not as promising as they seem to be.
I think topmost would be England. Everybody wanted to go there for a better life, for a better future, but jobs have just dried up there. There are so many children who, the elder brother, sister went and they got jobs, but then companies folded up, they've come back. And for me, it's not just about leaving a country or leaving a job. It's not just the physicality of it. What happens to a young person's brain, heart, whole being when they have to lose a job somewhere where they had hoped to make a life, and they come back with disappointments definitely, and some broken dreams.
Right.
So I think I shouldn't be naming countries, but definitely England. Look at America. Look at Canada.
It's a visa and immigration rules.
Those also that's part of the game. But having gone there with the hope of settling or contributing to that country, it does seem a little. Then why should I be going there? If there's nothing for me there later on, why should I go even now? Those questions are coming up.
Right. So over these years, like over the decades, I would say, schools have evolved a lot. They are not just offering, syllabus-related education or curriculum. They are offering global curricula and student exchange programs. But my question is, are Indian schools doing enough and early enough to prepare students for for chasing their study abroad dreams in terms of writing essays, building their extracurricular activities, that kind of a portfolio, or maybe writing the SOPs in the right manner, approaching the right forums to gain knowledge about the universities that they are aiming at. Are Indian schools doing enough and early enough to ensure that students?
Great question. I've been in the school space for 40 years now, Shashwati. So initially, the school had no role to play. The parents did their homework, the parents found out. All they expected of us was to give a letter of recommendation, which we tried to give as honestly as possible, because we didn't want to paint a false picture and have the poor child fall flat on his face or her face over there. Increasingly, there is a need to prepare the children for what we call a global world. Right? It's nothing to do with them wanting to study abroad, but I would like children to not just, I don't like the word tolerate, toleration of cultures. I want them to celebrate cultures. So whatever the diversity, embrace it, celebrate it, because if we were all alike, life would be very, very boring.
Absolutely.
So we are one of the few schools that has started some kind of an exchange even in class 5, when they're just 10 years old.
Oh.
And it's happening online. So they meet once a fortnight. There's a time which has been fixed, because there's always a time difference of 3.5 or 4.5 if it's in Europe or in England. And the children meet, a particular class of 15-20 meet. They talk. They teach songs to each other.
Oh.
They talk about movies. They talk about global warming in the simplest possible, because 10-year-olds'
of course.
worldview is a little limited. But within that limited view, they feel very strongly that there is an earth hour, we switch off the lights. Oh, we switched off the lights as well. So again, there's a immediate connection with the country, the school in Spain or a school in England, because you're all going to be facing a very uncertain future if global warming, it is a reality of course, but if it really comes within their lifetimes, they're going to face a lot of problems. So talk about it now, find ways of mitigating that, talk about their homes, talk about their families. And what has been very heartwarming is that in each of these cases, it's in class 5, now those kids are in class 8 and 9. So the official formal one from school has stopped, they are on it one-on-one.
Oh.
They're emailing each other, now the friends, families have become friends. So I remember one of the families had a wedding last year. Their entire family from Spain came to attend.
Oh.
So it's become what educators like me feel, it should not just be a transactional thing. I want to go to a country, study, come back with a what we call a white degree and hopefully get a great job. It should be a coming of people, a coming of hearts, a building of humanity, which would probably make the world a better place.
Absolutely, absolutely.
We also have exchange programs, the class 9, 10, 11, 12. And these kids that have gone now for the past 17, 18 years, they are like families. So they've already made a deal, when the German family comes, so now they have a plan that 5 years ago they saw Goa. Then there was the pandemic. So after pandemic, when they came, now we want to go and see Agra, because my son was raving about how beautiful the Taj Mahal was. Now when they go there, they go for the Alps skiing. And this is a completely non-sporty family. But because the French family's father is a ski instructor, he's got them all skiing. So it's actually a coming together, which is very heartwarming for me.
As we know that a lot of students dream of studying abroad, but when should they start preparing from? Should it start from grade 9 or even earlier? Also, apart from study abroad counselors, what roles can schools play to make sure that they are in the right path?
So technically, most universities ask for the marks and the transcripts from class 9 onwards. Right. I think before that, children are still very young. But I do, in the course of my conversation with parents, I do say that if you want your child to go abroad, if you want them to even study there for a short while or work briefly or settle down there have to be certain changes in the ecosystem of your own home. You can't have an entitled child walking in, throwing his clothes here and there and tiffin box somewhere else and waiting for someone to come and hand food over to them. It doesn't happen that way. Everybody in the West is self-sufficient from the age of 10. They are taught to make their sandwich. They're taught to make their microwave food if the mother has made the food, eat it themselves, wash their dishes, put it away. look after their clothes, look after their rooms. Are Indian parents doing that? It's all very well to put it all on the school. School is for 6 hours. 18 hours are at home. So in those 18 hours, what is happening? And we are here to help and guide, because I have a lot of my ex-students coming in. They come and talk to children. What was their journey like? So it's not really a official kind of a boring discourse. They actually talk about what was the biggest challenge for them. Even keeping track of the underwear. Pata hi nahi hua kahan gaya. After 1 week you realize that all 6 have disappeared. Because at home mummy was looking after them, getting them washed, putting them in the cupboard. So preparation has to start here, and then it can be a physical one. So schools are doing a lot. We start talking from class 9. Is the child even fitted to go out? Is he or she?
Is there a separate counseling cell for this?
We have a guidance and counseling cell.
And what about other schools that you know of? Are they also?
I think many schools are moving in that direction, definitely. There are a lot of, like you said, support groups where children come and share their worries, their aspirations, their hopes, all of that. So there is also a space in the private sphere which has private counseling happening, where a parent feels that maybe that 1 hour that the school gives in every 3 days, or the 3 hours that they get in the school, is not enough. I want more. So then they go to a private counsellor, because they really need to understand whether they are ready for it. Are they just going because it's a done thing? Worst idea. Are they going because everybody in their office went? Horrible. Or because you can afford it? No. It has to fit the child. The child has to, and how do you get them to know whether they want it or not? Again, through conversations. So we have a lot of conversations with our ex-students. If they are unable to come here, we have podcasts coming from there. They meet them in the evening, which is their free time or whatever. And most of my ex-students are so invested in the school, they are quite happy to spend 1 or 2 hours once in a month to talk to their juniors and tell them what the journey is like. Because unfortunately, for a typical Indian kid, it's a very rosy picture that is painted. What they see in movies. They go to a nice school place. There's a lot of greenery and there's no, rubbish anywhere. The reality is something quite different. So who will tell them that reality? Somebody who is there, somebody who's gone from here, who has your background, who has your sensibilities, probably your family structure. So their narrative makes so much more sense to the child who's here, clueless about what's going to happen there.
Let's talk about subject choices. In IB, Cambridge or CBSE, students are often seen, to making safe choices. They're often we see them making very safe choices. But while it comes to applying for an international university, uniqueness matters as much as the scores. So how can our schools in India encouraging students enough to for academic risk taking?
So the schools are ready, the parents have to be ready as well. So
if you could elaborate
we do educate them. We do talk to them about diversity. IB offers diversity, to be honest. So does Cambridge. In CBSE, under the NEP, now a lot of diversity is being offered. So we can have a child who's studying maybe physics, chemistry, maths with English and can ask for history.
Right.
Of course, timetabling is a nightmare then. And I can't have timetable for just 2 children doing history and 3 children doing psychology along with science, or 1 person wanted to do dance. So we encourage them to take it as a 6th subject. 6th is the additional subject which they have, and that is an open field. You can take anything from dance to music to artificial intelligence to history to cooking to fine arts, whatever you want. And the school supports it. Because we do know that when the result comes and when we send the predicted scores, universities do look for that differentiator. And of course, they're looking for marks. They will not take a child who's not doing well.
Scores are the most important aspect of admission anywhere,
yes.
Indian universities or those abroad.
Anywhere. This is also a misconception that Indian parents are after marks or Indian schools are pushing children for marks. You look anywhere in the world, there is a certain cutoff. You can't apply to certain colleges if you don't have straight A's.
Some cutoffs are sacrosanct.
Absolutely, you can't do away with them. I also agree that sometimes the brightest students don't get the right marks. They may not be great examinees. They are very good students. They are very bright, but they just don't know how to attempt that paper. But
time managed within those,
in that time gap,
Yeah.
and in that space, sometimes you have papers with just that much, whatever you have to say, you say in this much time and this much space. So it is a struggle, but by and large schools do encourage that take a variety of subjects so that you can show your diversity in your thought process as well.
Would you like to talk a little bit about the global curriculum that CBSE is working on? It's work in progress.
That is work in progress, so I should not actually comment on it. There was a CBSE I as well, CBSE International Curriculum, about a decade ago. It had few takers because again, whatever is very new, very challenging, people are very wary of it. But I think it's a great move because it allows a parent the choice of doing CBSE but with a global flavor. Not everyone can probably afford an IB school perhaps, or change schools because they may be very fond of that particular school, and so the CBSE school will be given a chance to open the the global curriculum as well, to offer that one more thing for the child in case they want to do something different.
Studying abroad needs a lot of financial planning and muscle as well. Not only planning but financial muscle. So scholarships bridge this gap for students, but data suggests that very few Indian students apply for scholarships like Fulbright and EU, Erasmus and Commonwealth for the UK. Do you see that trend, like low application rate for scholarships? And if that's what you have also observed, what is the reason behind this low rate of application for scholarships?
One reason is a controversial one, so I don't want to talk about it. The second reason is it requires immense amount of time and documentation, and because of the poor success rate, people don't want to get into it.
What is the controversial one that you don't want to talk about but you can still talk about?
There is a perception that it will be given only to a certain lot of people. It's pre-decided.
Oh, okay.
So I'm not sure how true it is because I have never applied. But my daughter went abroad and it was difficult to, to pay that kind of money. So I was in two minds. And to my surprise, she got a bursary on her application itself. And that really helped me because after all, we are salaried people. So, and I didn't want to break her heart by saying, I'm not going to send you, I don't have the money. But this is a personal experience that the university itself gave a bursary, and that is still happening. It's a misconception that all bursaries and all scholarships have dried up. They've reduced, yes, but they've not dried up. So I think what they're doing is instead of giving 100% off to somebody, they give 20% off to 5 children, which helps 5 instead of 1. Right. And it sort of gives them also a float.
Okay. And what is the problem with documentation? Do we have, we do have study abroad consultants.
We have study abroad consultants. We have banks giving loans. But parents have always said that when you apply for any of these scholarships, which are driven by the government, there is so much paperwork, so many documents you have to collect, after which you are not sure. You don't mind collecting documents if you are sure that, okay, now I'm going to get a 20 or 25% waiver. You're not sure. So most of them get exhausted at the start, and then that's the narrative that goes from generation to generation. It won't happen. Don't even try. So people have stopped trying. I still urge them. I said, it is a no. It might be a yes. But then they say, ma'am, 4 hours of sitting and filling those forms, uploading documents, and a website crashing, you're starting all over again. I don't want to get into it. If I'm paying this much, I'll pay 20% more, doesn't matter.
From a school's lens, what are the red flags that students and parents should watch out for while applying for a university? Is it campus safety or internship opportunities, or what? What are the red flags?
I think the most important is for the parent to know where the child will fit in, because there is no one size fits all. Definitely.
Right.
Just because your elder child went or a cousin's son went doesn't mean your child will also go there. That's the first red flag. I see it a lot in our country. People just following a trend. There should be no trend. Every child is different. Every child is unique. Let them be unique. Let them find their niche. Of course, then the next thing is, how safe is that space? So a lot of parents prefer to go to what is called university towns, where all you have is at university. So if there's a cinema hall, it's inside the university campus. There is a 2-3 eating joints over there. you have to stay within that. Some parents are very wary of going into a big city for fear that the child will be sucked into, the more social part of life than academics. And of course, they must be very conscious of whether there is life after this. Will they be able to get an internship? Will they be able to get a job? Will they be able to stay there for a little bit more? Because even while studying, there are a lot of children look for jobs to sustain, to supplement what their parents are sending home. So they must see if that is available or not. And parents are doing that. A lot of my students who go apply for university jobs before even going there. So the person who could be, reviewing their application says that, okay, I have 3 hours of work and this is how much you will get paid. Come and join. You will be earning this much money.
Okay.
So that is some of the things that parents must see, whether there is sustainable for the child to be there in terms of finance.
Do you believe that schools should go beyond the traditional study abroad counseling and take a more thorough and practical approach towards this, like say setting up mock interviews, inviting financial planners in the school to help students and their parents manage their expected expectations abroad? Do you think?
Very important, very, very important, because while I know we are all guilty of putting on a portal that 20 of our kids got here and 40 of them got there, nobody writes that out of those 25 came back. They didn't settle in. And most of the time the lack of settling in is because they were not fully prepared.
Right.
So I think with it, between parents and homes, we must prepare the child better, financially, academically, emotionally and socially. There's a lot to be done. Like I said, when I start in class 5 with a 10-year-old, I am preparing them for a world outside their city and their country. I'm exposing them to a home which is very different from theirs.
Are mock interviews arranged by schools?
By our own alumni. I don't call outsiders, I don't call experts.
Okay.
I think students are as expert as anybody else. So any child who's been grilled by an by a counselor or by the university, by their admissions team, knows what kind of things are asked. So they, on a one-on-one, do this grilling. In some cases where the university is very popular and there may be 3-4 students, in the evening with the counselors and under her watchful eye, a mock interview and a sort of a discourse is done by the student who's overseas already.
But how many schools do you think do this in India? Like, are schools warming up to this idea of arranging?
They are definitely calling the alumni. Definitely, that's for sure. I think I would say 15-20% schools would be doing that, who are sending children abroad. They are calling the alumni. In some cases, maybe the alumni is not so invested, not so engaged, or for whatever reason, that the children don't have access to internet and to their own devices. I don't know. There could be reasons, but when my own students said me that, ma'am, we are the only ones who are called in. So I said, no, I'm sure you are the. No, we've asked them anyway. And they say, our school didn't call us. Even when we go back to our city, we are not called. So we call them physically when they are here. They come in July for their vacation. If they are not working or if they are doing an internship here, we definitely call them on their terms at their time whenever they want to come. And what is very heartwarming, again I must share this, is that an external counselor may have 10% absence. When an ex-student comes, it's 100% attendance because they all want to hear. They want to know exactly how it is. And they feel free enough to ask their senior about what their deepest fears are and what to look out for.
Let's throw in a little bit of controversy. Do you think studying abroad is still worth it in 2025? Given the shrinking job markets internationally, the strict immigration and visa rules, and so many other adverse situations, cropping up due to geopolitical tensions, do you think it's really worth it?
Tough one. I think it's all about choices. In many cases, it's still that legacy thing. That my father went abroad, I went abroad, my elder child went abroad, so why shouldn't my younger one? So send. But yes, a lot of questions are being raised now, and especially now with Indian universities stepping up and offering world-class education so close to home and perhaps at a fraction of the cost. we are also encouraging parents
To study in India?
at least do a graduation here when the child is a little bit older. And I find these things very positive. And sometimes when a child has got into an internship or got a job in a big company, good company, they are ready to support the child's higher education dream as well, as long as the child comes back and works with them for another 4-5 years. So do it when you're more sure. Never do anything because it is the done thing. So because so many people went in the past, so we must go. I think that question must come up again and again, that do you need to go, or are your Indian degrees as good, as robust as a foreign degree? Having said that, there is still that perception that if you go abroad, there may not be a job there, but certainly in India you will get
a better opportunity. Your opportunity, the horizon of your opportunities will widen.
Your old boys network will be wider, more global. So those perceptions are, I'm not sure they're only perceptions or if there's a reality. But I also know for a fact there are a lot of children who had initially said in 9th and 10th that they will definitely go abroad, settled in beautifully in Indian universities, and are doing exceedingly well now, and they have no regrets.
So, if you had to place a bet, which country is silently becoming the next big study abroad destination for Indian students? What is, like, apart from the big four like UK, US, Canada and Australia, there are countries we are seeing a lot of interest increasing for UAE, Dubai, South Korea, Ireland, Netherlands. What, in your observation, is the next biggest study abroad destination for Indian students?
I would say definitely Netherlands is on the rise.
But
And
they are putting a cap on their English taught programs. And
exactly. So, but still, at least it's opening up. We hadn't heard about it 5-6 years ago. Also, Ireland and Scotland, both.
Oh.
Very attractive destinations.
Why are they?
I think for the same reason that Indians are stepping up. Number of children is the same or increasing, and there are not enough universities, and you need to have children studying in a university. So a lot of universities which were small, some could have even been small colleges, have now risen to the status of university because of the kind of influx they've had from, especially from the eastern part of the globe, China, India, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, Pakistan. So many children go out over there. And automatically, you get a fillip if you get some good students, there's good fees coming in, you improve your infrastructure. So it becomes one more attractive destination, because earlier, honestly, there were just these 4-5 places that parents went to. Right. But in the past few years, definitely Ireland, Scotland, Netherlands are becoming attractive. Not so much UAE yet, but certainly
Dubai
there in the
is,
horizon.
Suddenly becoming quite popular. It's expensive, but still it's become.
UAE is very safe. Safe. So safety point of view, parents want to send their children. They can't get into any mischief. There is no mischief to be done there. Simple.
Thank you again, Ms. Mishra, for joining us, and we are looking forward to many more such sessions with you, such enlightening and insightful sessions. You have shared such nice personal anecdotes which will, I think, encourage students in the right direction while they are planning their study abroad.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.